Massive störst ubåtsbeskydd över rakt ner över. Listen carefully to this story, and your voice was going to listen forever.
Welcome to 20 and 17 right here on the Fago Lovers Network. Brandon Ward joining you as always as we count down the past 20 years in worldwide juggalos. We're already up to chapter 13. It's the end. We talked about the 6th Joker's card, Shangri-La, last week on the program. If you haven't checked out any of the previous episodes, it starts all the way back in 97 with where Shockumentary really put the juggalos on the map worldwide, and then picks up right from there and kind of covers as much of the history from the Hatchet Man as I can, as far as I can find sound clips and things like that to use to progress the story and kind of make it more vivid than just telling it myself. So what I've been doing is breaking down these every week. What we're doing is talking about the end this week. It's Hell's Pit and what came after it. You heard the intro to Hell's Pit right off the jump there, but it was time for the actual end to happen. And nobody knew what the end was going to be after Hell's Pit had wrapped up, after the Joker card era had wrapped up officially. But before we get into the actual Hell's Pit era, we left off pretty much right where Shangri-La had came out, and then pretty much cut it off right there. In between Shangri-La and Hell's Pit, the Wicked Clowns also did a couple things that I wanted to mention before we get into the Hell's Pit era. One thing was the Wicked Wonka tour that they did that really was, it's probably one of the most favorite tours ever from Insane Clown Posse, as they put together just an awesome lineup for the Wicked Wonka tour. First time most ninjas seen Tech 9. You've seen Bone Thugs and Harmony on that tour. Just that thing was packed of just freshness after freshness after freshness. Cottonmouth Kings, of course, on there. They went on to make the Thug Pit song for Hallowicked. Also, I wanted to play the Wicked Wonka tour intro while I can. And there you hear some of the Wicked Wonka tour that ICP was doing right after the Shangri-La was released. And man, that tour was just fire. Like I said, the stage setup was awesome. I remember it was kind of set up like, of course, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but they had the big bubbling vats of Faygo. They had the spinning wheels with the hatchets on them. Just a super, super fresh stage set. And like I said, the lineup, the bill of artists you got to see on that tour was tremendous. I think a lot of ninjas are going to remember that was the first time they really got introduced to Tech Nine and got to see Tech Nine live and in person. And if you've never seen Tech Nine in person, have only heard him on CD, he's great on CD, but he goes to Spinal Tap level 11 when you see him live, whenever you see how much energy him and Calico brings to their stage set. So definitely, if you've never seen Tech Nine live, get out there and check him out for sure. But what we'll do now is move it on to another thing that I was wanting to talk about from the actual era of Shangri-La before Hell's Pit kicked in. It's going to be a backyard wrestling that they did. It was a backyard wrestling game, and that game actually, the first version of that game came out in 2003 during the Shangri-La era. The second edition of the video game came out a little bit later and showed ICP a lot of love on that. They're on the cover of that game, but what I'm going to do right now is let you hear a cutscene from one of the backyard wrestling games.
Reporting live from Al's truck stop, where the insane clown posse has just pulled into town. We're here to find out why the most hated band in the world has suddenly come to our town.
Backyard wrestling, huh? Live on TV, $1 million prize. But what you failed to realize is who you're going to be facing in the main event. Well, you're looking at them. The Wicked Clowns. And we own this carnival, bitch.
Bitch! I know you hate us, cause you ain't us. I don't think you punks got what it takes anyhow. Hell no! Not when you gotta get through the Rude Boy, Vampiro, and Madman Pondo.
It's not just who you see here either. We got some of the sickest, most wickedest hardcore men on their way here right now, motherfucker. See, we're the tidal wave of violence that's gonna wash away this cesspool of a town. You're gonna be battered and broken when Insane Clown Posse gets done with you.
There you hear ICP's cutscene from Backyard Wrestling. The story of the game was there's $1 million tournament going around for backyard wrestlers, and ICP brings the JCW crew and themselves with them to try to win that $1 million, and the craziness ensues from there. It's a great game for back in the day. It's still even fun. I mean, even today, where the graphics have just went to a new level since then. Whenever these games were made, it's still fun to play just because of all the characters and love that the Insane Clown Posse, Rude Boy, Vampiro, JCW guys get. It's just a fun game to play overall. We'll keep it moving now from the video game onto another thing that they were on pre-Hell's Pit era before the end happened. And that was an appearance on Howard Stern to talk about some beef that Howard thought they may have with Blender for Blender naming them the worst band ever.
We just here because we're superstars. You know what I'm saying? Superstars come on Howard Stern.
That's right,
And
big
we're
pimpin'.
superstars.
And we wrote a book about how we got to be this pimpage.
That's right.
Now, what do you guys like, Howard,
Pocket
so
jewels.
much?
Well, let's see. Every time we come on a show, it's some kind of guaranteed beef with somebody. You know what I mean? And a little bit of drama. And these are help create the stories that are the Insane Clown Posse's legacy.
That's right. We're just waiting to see who we're beefing with today.
I'm a fan of Insane Clown Posse, even though they think I'm not. They don't.
Why don't you tell me one of your favorite songs of theirs?
No, I'm a fan of theirs, not their songs.
Oh, not
I wouldn't
their
know one
music.
from the other. Wow, hey, Violent J is slimming down.
Look at you.
Violent
What
J
happened to
thin,
you?
feeling good about himself.
Oh, they look fantastic.
You're getting healthy.
Shaggy 2 Dope always was thin.
Yeah.
Shaggy 2 Dope wearing some sort of ace bandage on his hand. It looks like he injured
What
himself.
did he do?
Did you get in a fight?
I wouldn't call it a fight there, Howard. I'd call it more of an ass whipping.
Your ass got whipped? No.
Oh, come on. My hand got whipped, but that's about it.
Whose ass did you whip?
It was during that day where the power went out. You
Oh,
know?
really?
It was hot out. Some kid popped his lips off.
What did he say to you?
He threw a beer can at my face.
Why would he do that? Did he know that you were Did
Were
he
you
know
in
you
your
were you?
makeup?
I don't even know if he knew he did it.
Oh, I see. It was an accident.
No, he was just out of his mind, drunk and high.
And you beat him up.
Yeah.
Well, I don't blame you. He threw something at you. You have every right to do that.
What are you going to do, you know?
Were you offended by the fact that Insane Clown Posse, your band, was voted the worst band ever by Blender Magazine? Come on, that's got to hurt.
Yeah, man. We love that. Yeah, at least
They put you down below Celine Dion.
Right.
Like Kenny G. I don't give a rat's ass about Kenny G, but isn't that an insult?
Imagine if we'd have been number 19 or 27.
Yeah, just
that would have
almost
really
bad.
sucked.
But wait
We're
a second.
number one
Wait.
or something, you know?
You must have been offended
We
by
were
that.
number one. That means we're the most different, outrageous.
Wait, if you had the guy from Blender Magazine on the phone right now, what would you say to him?
Man, I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to front. We've been claiming to be the world's most hated band for 3 years.
Rob.
Yeah.
Rob Tannenbaum is the senior editor of Blender Magazine.
What's up, homie?
Hey, how you guys doing?
They're not saying... They're saying you're the worst band musically in the history of music.
Well, the whole thing is...
That's what they're saying.
Well, here goes the thing. This Rob guy on the phone right now, he's probably a flop musician that was in a band that didn't make it.
Rob,
so he's
is
salty
that
at the
true,
world.
what Shaggy 2 Dope says?
Well, the selection of them as as Blender Magazine's worst band ever really was a collective decision. So it's got nothing to do with my musical accomplishments or lack of.
In other words, he sucks.
Right? He's in a flop band.
So in other words, is Shaggy 2 Dope correct? Were you in a band?
Yes, I was.
Yes. All music critics always were in a band.
And what's his name, Rob?
Rob.
Rob is looking at us sitting on the Howard Stern show in clown paint. You know what I'm saying?
What band were you?
With one hit, and he can't stand it. He can't stand it. And
Are you jealous in a way, Rob? Seriously, now that's a good point the band is making. Those guys...
There's only one thing that I'm jealous of, and that's their money.
But in all seriousness, they get to go up on stage and perform. They have girls.
We do all the stuff
we
you dreamt
get
of
to do what
doing.
we want to do. We rock shows. I question you, Rob, and your whole committee, or whoever made the decision, is how can, just answer this.
Yeah.
How can 2,000 people, real people, regular people, pack into a venue, sing every lyric, and have the best time of their life? I mean, a great show worth every penny to them. They love it. They had a great time. There's not one fight between 2,000 people. And then as they file out and go home, how can you just say, well, they suck? Who are you or that committee to say something sucks? I don't like Waylon Jennings, but if he's putting 13,000 people in some country bunking bar, I don't think that sucks. I got mad respect for him. I'm like, okay, he's doing his thing. How can you just say, or your committee? And who are you talking about? According to what? Cool people? According to radio and MTV statistics? We never wanted to be part of that. How do we suck? How can that be when all of these people are having such a good time and we're doing such a good thing, but we suck apparently? Who the hell are you or your committee to say when something sucks?
And there you hear Violent J just laying it down right there, schooling that dude from Blender, and Shaggy 2 Dope, of course, nailing it, knowing that most critics are just failed musicians, called him out on it, and of course, what do you know, it's a failed musician that he's sitting there talking to, he's beefing, who's obviously just jealous as shit that ICP are successful rock star, rap stars, whatever you want to call them, music industry. It was what he was trying to get into. He couldn't make it, so he had to be a salty critic writing reviews of things. So, of course, he's salty. He's sitting there just fiending to be where ICP is, being on the Howard Stern show, being interviewed by Howard Stern. But while we're talking about the media hating on ICP, this happened right before we got into the actual timeline of the series, right around the pre-Malenko era, whenever Spin Magazine had came out with an article bashing Insane Clown Posse. So when we were talking about Blender, it made me think of this one from back in the day that I wanted to play.
Then there was the case of Spin Magazine writer Mike Rubin and cartoonist Mark Dancy, who made the mistake of portraying Detroit's Insane Clown Posse as a bunch of, well, clowns.
They admitted in no uncertain terms that they knew this was a shtick and they didn't have a lot of talent.
Now here is the bitter Mark Dancy and the jealous Mike Rubin in a position of power. So the two of them sat down as our friends and did an interview with us.
It was kind of surprising that they were so upset by the comic that appeared in Spin. But on the other hand, perhaps the comic would make them more upset because I'm not entirely sure that they can read.
The beef I had with that article was that I knew what they were doing and they were going for the jugular.
Actually, the gist of the Spin attack was that the clowns were ripping off black culture.
Well, I'm standing here with duct tape around my fists and a painted juggalo face, and how I'm ripping off black culture, I'll never understand.
We never said in the piece that they were racist. We connected them to a long history of white performers borrowing from black traditions.
The clowns retaliated by telling their fans to hunt down cartoonist Dancy.
We went on the website and we said, those guys are punks, blah, blah, blah. And of course, all the juggalos, they're like soldiers, they don't play. You know what I mean?
Mark was accosted on the street. Spin began getting besieged by phone calls.
A lot of times when people read something, they take it as fact. You know what I mean? And little do they know that in reality, it was two assholes and their opinion on something.
They can be entitled to disagree with our opinions and not like the piece, but they have no right to challenge our safety.
Man, you could just hear the hater and the saltiness through that guy's voice. But yeah, talk shit about the Juggalos or ICP back in the day, man. This was, like I said, this was like right when Malenko was about to drop, pre-Malenko about to drop era, whenever all this beef started going down with Spin. They perpetrated being like fans of Insane Clown Posse and got a bunch of, ICP took them in and gave them interviews, and they got to talk to Juggalos and things like that, and then they spun it into a negative article when the whole time they were telling ICP and Psychopathic that it was going to be a good article, and ICP felt like they were lied to. What they did is told the Juggalos, hey, this is who did it to us. They put their names out there on the website. Man, Juggalos back in the day, if you told them to go whoop somebody's ass because they disrespected the hatchet, that ass was getting whooped. And that's how it was. You heard those guys complaining about it and saying how it was unfair and things like that. But, man, just keep your mouth shut. Keep your haterade to yourself. Ain't nobody want it over here. And they pretty much realize that they need to keep their mouth shut when it comes to things like that. Still people running their mouth even today as you look back at that D-list horror movie actor. I don't even know his name, honestly. And whenever he said that he wished whatever happened in Vegas at that country concert would have happened to Juggalos instead. And I went and looked at his Twitter whenever his tag was up there or whatever it was, and he had less followers than my radio station that covers nothing but local high school sports here in Owensboro, Kentucky, which has a max reach of about 50,000 people. We have more followers than that guy who is a quote-unquote movie star. So to call that guy a movie star whenever he's got like 2,000 followers is a bit of a reach for that guy. I don't even know his name, but the hell with that guy. I'd punch him in the face right now if I ever see him. Hell, if you don't like Juggalos that bad, you want to do some kind of MMA fight, right? I'll do it wherever you want to. I'll represent the Juggalos and I'll MMA fight your ass and give you a reason to not like Juggalos. So we'll keep it moving on from there. That kind of pisses me off whenever anybody talks shit like that about Juggalos, especially whenever they're just running their mouth. You know what he's trying to do is just be funny. And the ideal of the whole march was to let the world know Juggalos aren't a punchline. And what happened as soon as that douchebag made that comment, what had happened at the Juggalo March, where there was such a positive glow around Juggalos, that dude got kicked off of a Rock and Shock convention for horror movie actors, and it's because of the public perception of Juggalos after seeing that march and how positive it went and how people around Washington were saying it was the most peaceful march they'd seen in 50 years. And anybody that said the march didn't accomplish anything, right there it accomplished something. It changed the perception of the mainstream. As soon as the Juggalos got picked on, that dude got kicked the fuck off of that booking that he had, which I honestly don't think would have happened a month ago before the Juggalo March had happened. I think the positivity and the way the Juggalos in D.C. and ICP and all the people that performed and talked at the march, I think the positivity and shining and 17 and it came from that, it really changed the minds of how a lot of mainstream America views Juggalos, and they had our back as soon as that douchebag was talking shit. A bunch of people said they weren't going to go if that guy was going to be on the show. Also seen Colt Cabana sticking up for us. And speaking of somebody that's always stuck up for us, Ralphie May sadly passed away. He's been at the Gathering, of course, the comedian, been at the Gathering a few times. And anytime I ever seen any of his interviews when he was asked about Juggalos or the Gathering. He talked about it very positively. I also seen him. I do believe he was actually sticking up for us whenever the Juggalo March was going on, as recently as that. So much clown love, of course, to Ralphie May. And we'll keep it moving now right before we're on to the Hell's Pit era, as we got a few more things to talk about before Hell Pit actually kicks in. The final thing before Hell Pit really starts kicking in I want to talk about is the Wizard of the Hood album that Violent J made. Shaggy, of course, had made the Fuck Off album a single or a solo album, EP, whatever you want to call it, back in the day, the original one. I believe it had 4 tracks on it, if I'm remembering correctly right off the top of my head. And then Violent J in 2003 put out his own solo album, and it was basically a story on an album, which if you follow any of the Dark Carnival mythology, you know Violent J is a genius about writing things like that, and he pulled off another masterpiece whenever he wrote Wizard of a Hood, and it came out in 2003, but what I want to play a sound clip from is from the Gathering of the Juggalos 17 back in 2016, whenever they actually performed it live on stage. It's one of Juggalo, the most often heard response whenever somebody asks their favorite performance they've seen live or a favorite moment in Juggalo history. A lot of ninjas' answers are going to be seeing Wizard of the Hood, because if you remember back to seminars and things like that in the past, they would ask ICP if they were ever going to do Wizard of the Hood live, and Violent J said he thought the album played better in your mind. It was so visual, you could just visualize everything in your mind. But then all of a sudden, there's all kinds of positivity going around the Gathering. I think that was another reason the Ninjas hold this performance so near and dear to their heart, because it was the last Gathering that Twisted was at. And if you've heard Violent J talk about this Gathering, Twisted did that Gathering for cost. That was just karma and positivity that was flying around that whole Gathering, and it culminated with Wizard of the Hood live.
The kush is all what's going on, but that's where I belong, because some of them days be shiny diamonds, and it can't be wrong, because some of them nights the moon be shining like a world ago, so much unexplode, and I'll be climbing, homies rhyming, heaven I'm in, people can't do their thing, and mine is singing, I'm singing like Eddie Vedder, only better. Somehow, and smoking shredders somehow. Come on! It ain't much going on, but that's where I belong, because some of them days be shining diamonds, and it can't be wrong, because some of them nights the moon be shining like a world ago, so much unexplored, and I'll be climbing, homies rhyming, heaven I'm in, people can't do their thing, and mine is singing, I'm singing like Axl Rose in there when he was with Slash in them. I said I'm singing, I'm singing, I'm singing, I'm fucking singing, I'm fucking singing. Well, let's get you rocking. There it is, y'all. Take a look at that palace. Hey, fountains of Alice. They have the amazing, devastating, out of control Wizard logo on a gold flake pole. Let's go front door, ring the bells. We here, free beer, we here. So glad to be there. We can tell they be smoking out something inside. I smelt it in the hallways. I'm always on it. That's a call what that shit is. He's heard the wizard. What, he don't share like a big bird? He was like, fools get they killers chopped when asking around about the wizard's crop. And I thought, what you thinking? Was that AB Kitchen? Stick to the hallway, okay? Go away. At the wizard's gates, we all knocked and we walked all in. Let the party begin. Party. What the fuck you thinking? Face is on fire. Damn it, must be a faulty wire. Well, fuck, my voice thing won it again, but you're still in terrible danger, my friend. Team man ran and disbanded the curtain. It was just some fool with a fuck off shirt, and it was all the game. We maintained the same. Hot Shaggy Struts nuts be the real name of the wizard if you want, but it's all up front. I've been here 9 years, 8 days in a month, so I started this hustle. Now it's getting me paid. I gotta admit I get laid with my own parade, but a player like me knows what you want. A player like me holds magic blood. The magic blood? The magic blood. I've been saving it up. What? All for you fools are getting what you want, cause a player like me holds magic blood. The magic blood? The magic blood. I'm lighting it up. Now what? Mr. Lion? Yeah. You in need of a hold and flow.
What Awesome.
She's yours or any other bitch you step to. Don't let no rep go intercept you. Tin Man, it's your turn to hit the gas. Nothing, I don't understand. Your wishes for iron when you made out of steel, but you already the hardest for real. Scarecrow, my man, hit the drum. Some homies to smoke with me. I know I'm puffing, but I ain't seeing nothing. What about the homies that's with you? You saying they frontin', but I love Chen Tizzy, the lion and Jay. They down with you for life too. And volunteer. Hey, now it's your turn to burn. Just hit that shit in the page we turn. Just hit that shit in the page we turn. Just hit that shit.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up at Gathering 17. And that's just how it went. Hope you liked it.
And there you hear Wizard of the Hood live from the Gathering 2016, Gathering 17 as it was called. And man, like I said, one of the most awesome moments in Juggalo history ever. It's on YouTube if you haven't seen it, if you weren't there live to be able to see it. It's pretty awesome even on film, even on YouTube, especially if you pull it up on like Livecast and have a decent sized TV to play it on. It really looks like some of those times, like whenever the castle appears out of nowhere, it really looks like it's flying up behind them. Just a great job by the psychopathic audio visual staff there. That performance was just straight popping. Like I said, that was pretty much one of the all-time highlights of Juggalo history. But now we're moving into the end. And what we'll do now is we're getting right near the end of the Shangri-La era. We'll hear from the Gathering of the Juggalos ICP seminar talking about Hell's Pit.
So we just keep rolling and we keep doing our thing, making new music, you know what I mean? But we know the old shit's fresh, but we don't want to just try to recreate that same shit. We're just still trying to tell a story, you know what I'm saying? And that's where we stand real firmly, you know? But this particular next record is the wicked shit, like top to bottom, and the wicked shit we happen to be the masters of. So we're not experimenting on this one. We're not experimenting with sounds or even a lot of rock guitars. We're pretty much just doing what we already know we know how to do the best, and that's the wicked shit, you know what I mean? And Shaggy's doing tracks for it. Esham's doing tracks for it. Peasy for Sheezy. Mike P's doing tracks for it. It's a collaboration of a bunch of different, you know, but there's no special guest on it, man. It's just me and Shaggy on that bitch, top to bottom. It's little, you know. A little bit here and there. Oh, shit. Y'all don't mind if I blaze this blunt right quick. Work it back. Work it back. He about to educate you now, man.
And there you hear some of the Insane Clown Posse seminar from 2014. Right before the end. But what we'll do now is moving on to a little bit more from that seminar, as ICP had said they weren't going to perform any of Hell's Pit's songs at that gathering that year, so some ninja asked to spit some of the lyrics.
All right, what's up?
Thank you.
Okay, spit some Hell's Pit lyrics.
Yeah!
motherfucker, front to back. But you know, alright, hold on, let me think of something fresh. We just alright, hold on a minute, that's all kind of added pressure. I'll put it in the start bus and I got that fresh. I need to stop and concentrate. I ain't no kind of freestyler. I need at least 15 minutes on this one. How does it start? Okay. I know your verse, but I don't know mine. Next question.
No.
I walked into the church dressed up as an altar boy. I seen a preacher. He said, little boy, I'm a teacher. Put his hand on my shoulder, felt the claw of the beast. I never thought it'd be so fucking easy murdering a priest. We went into the confession booth. He took off his clothes, cut some yay right on his Bible top and hooted his nose. I jammed the butcher's like 12 inches into his gut. He looked me right into my eyes while I was yanking it up. Preacher killed.
Yeah.
There you hear Violent J dropping some of the first ever heard lyrics from Hell's Pit to the Juggalos at the Gathering of the Juggalos 2004 seminar. As we'll keep it moving now, right before we get out of the Gathering of the Juggalo 2004, you heard there, they were talking about Esham was working with them a lot in this era, which is awesome. Esham is the king of the wicked shit, in my opinion. Really started it off, started the whole thing. You can go back to a lot of guys, all the way back to Ghetto Boys and things like that, but I truly give Esham the crown as being king of the wicked shit, and he held it down at the Gathering of the Juggalos, and him and Violent J performed one of my all-time favorite tracks. And I think this track gets slept on by a lot of people. I don't hear a lot of people mention it whenever they talk about great tracks on compilations or whenever they have duets or whatever guests on tracks. But this one's one of my favorite. It's called Boom, and it's at the Gathering of the Juggalos live in 2004.
Detroit listeners out there, you better be sure to stop by the Galaxy Club.
Yo!
Styles.
What the fuck is Violent J?
Where's he at? From the skill, better get your hip hop ass out.
Can I bring my homie out here? Yeah. My homie Jackie. Mortification is my next demonstration. I'd ask you for a light, pumping gas at the station. Here's my situation. I hate many people, so I hear no, see no, say no evil. Just like an evil, leave you headless, bloody mess like you was riding a Ducati. Lottie Dottie broke every bone in your body. I'm not sorry. I probably murder you. Voices telling me do what he say. Kill the DJ. Fuck what he play. Mayday, mayday. Boom, boom. Blood's all over the room. I fucked your bitch like a witch with a broom. Doomsday. Murderers say all y'all must pray when the buckshot spray. Who wants to challenge me? Grab the mic and bust your rap. But then I'ma just go grab my strap and just commence to bust the caps. Leaving bodies piled up and freestyle clubs full. You better make room. Boom like what? What? Y'all make room when we show up. Boom, boom, boom. What? What? Y'all make room when we show up.
Killers run up in this bitch, start busting off shots, hitting mirror balls, laser lights, and people on the top. I'm looking for the DJ, cause he don't see in my way. I'm about to blow him out his headphones and spit some ABK. I'm like a Molotov cocktail, breaking on your wall, I'm setting shit off. I blow your lid off, your body falls. You don't need aluminol, I'm leaving blood everywhere. And I'm aiming for the head and hair of everybody there. I'm like a grasshopper, quick to jump, I'm spreading my wings. You say the wicked shit'll die, I say you faggot see it, bleed. All you bitches bitches know I'm gangsta. Don't ask me to dance. I might straight panic, pull the gat and blow your pussy out your pants. It's the wicked shit. It's E&J. It's hotter than hell. And every devil's night we hunt them down and slaughter D12. I take the moose gun and shed your blood and blow it out your back. Turn and face the camera where your action's at. Throw it up, yo. What? Y'all make room when we show up. Boom, boom, boom. What? Y'all make room when we show up.
And there you hear Boom from Gathering of the Juggalos 2004. E&J Shaggy was on stage as well, repping it out, getting hype out there. Man, that song, if you ever get to see it live, that is instant energy from the Juggalo crowd. So, yeah, whenever Violent J's on the track with Esham, he steps his game up. He's trying to impress one of the guys that he has a lot of respect for. So you can really tell whenever Violent J's on the track with Esham, he brings his A game, and I think it was displayed very well in that song. And hopefully with Esham, it's seemingly working with Psychopathic now, as he's going to be at Hallowicked 2017. Hopefully we'll hear some more E&J, maybe some supervillains, maybe. We'll keep it moving, though, as it's officially time to get into the actual end. And whenever you open the package for Hell's Pit, you either got the Hell's Pit album itself with the music on it, and you either got the Wicked Wonka bootlegged in Denver, I believe it was, DVD, or you got a movie, which was called Bowling Balls, which was a track from the album that they had made into a mini movie. Going to go ahead and listen to a little bit of that right now.
Fucking Tiffany thought her tits were bigger than mine. I mean, dude, these are done by the best fucking doctors.
Shut up! Can't you ever talk about something else besides your fake tits?
Oh, shit! Oh my god, get it!
What the hell was that?
Fuck if I know. Let's get the fuck out of here, Amy.
We have to look. What if we hurt someone?
Give a fuck, Amy. Let's get out of here now.
Stacy, I cannot live with myself if we don't at least check.
Fine, fucking whatever.
Hello? Is anyone there? Hello?
Amy, this is so fucking stupid. You probably just hit some animal that crawled off and forced to die. Start the fucking car! Start the fucking car! Start the fucking car! Start the fucking car! Start the fucking car now!
Starting! Oh my god, I need to call Brad, Tiffany, and Carl right now. Brad, it's Amy. And we just hit something on Highway 6 and now our car won't start. Rich, you'll come back and get us? It's near a hotel. A blinking neon light of a running man. Please come back and get us. Fuck! Hate this phone.
Well, are Brad, Tiffany, and Carl coming back?
They better. Meantime, let's just stay here, okay?
Hello, lovable lovelies. I'm a localer here in town, and I noticed you're having some car trouble. I was wondering if I might be of some service.
Look, our friends are coming, thanks.
That's purely speculation. Even so. For you, miss.
Thanks.
And for you, tulipies.
Wow, thanks. How did you know tulipies were my favorite?
Doesn't matter. But listen, I happen to be the proprietor of a local bed and breakfast right down the street a little ways. If you guys would like to wait while your friends are coming, we could offer up some tea or some coffee or some milk or something. Lemony, lemonade, perhaps.
You know, that does sound lovely, but actually our friends are already on their way.
You can never be too safe these days.
Oh, what the heck? It's better than sitting in a beat-up old car. Will you just give me 1 second?
Sure.
Amy? What the fuck are you thinking? Huh? Just because he gave you some goddamn flowers, you're just gonna go off with him in the middle of the night?
He has a trustworthy face.
Did you look at the fuck? He's a goddamn painted clown, Amy.
Okay, you know what? I don't think we have much of a choice here. Brad, Carl, and Tiffany are not going to be here for another 2 hours.
I'm not going anywhere with that fucking clown.
Fine. Then you just stay here. And when Brad, Carl, and Tiffany come, we'll come back and get you.
You better be right.
It's so indicative of those two to completely complicate my carefully laid out itinerary.
Oh, shut up. Why do you always have to be such a bitch, Carl? They may be fucking stupid, but you can't fucking blame them for hitting something in the fucking road.
You don't need to worry about your itinerary. Because we got plenty of green butter.
Bradley, do you know what Coach Panther would do to you if he found out you were smoking marijuana cigarettes?
Man, fuck Coach Panther. Just do the driving, my friend.
Been in the family for years, and I'll have you know, ladies, that for 25 miles around in any direction there isn't another establishment just like this. In fact, there isn't even another establishment. We are in the middle of what you'd say nothingness. However, if you do head 15 miles to the north, you'll find a small wooden shed, which is used for growth of marijuana purposes that has nothing to do with us. Here we are. Welcome, ladies. Welcome to the ICP bed and breakfast. Come on inside. I've got someone I'd like you to meet.
Let me guess, it's like Freddie, Jason, or Norman.
Shh, be nice. Right this way, ladies.
And I'll leave you in suspense right there if you haven't seen that yet in full. Check it out on YouTube. Just search Bowling Ball Movie, and it'll pop up for you, Hell's Pit, something like that on YouTube. You'll figure it out. But what we're doing is we've finally gotten into Hell's Pit now. It's the final chapter. It's actually the end of what I consider to be the best mythology ever written. I know a lot of people might say Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or one of those type of movies, even comic books or things like that. Man, the Dark Carnival, if you just break down all the characters, listening to that Bowling Balls movie just made me think of how great a full-length feature film just based on the Dark Carnival and all the characters and places you could have because of all the songs that are written. I mean, just right off the top of my head, Mr. Rotten Treats, Boogie Woogie Woo, Mr. Johnson's Head could be something, House of Wax, the House of Horrors. I mean, there's just so many things that would be awesome and it could be turned into something, a full-length feature horror movie on the Dark Carnival, which is something I think they were trying to do with Chronicles of the Dark Carnival. But if they did a more real-life version of it, a real-life horror movie, but based on characters and things from the Dark Carnival mythology from the first 6 Jokers card, I think that would be fucking epic. But like I said, I think the first 6 Jokers cards is the best mythology ever written. Violent J and Shaggy. Shaggy doesn't get looked at as much as Violent J as being on the creative side because Violent J is the one that mainly thinks up of how the Joker cards names and the mythology and the story behind it and things like that. But what Shaggy does is bring them to life. He draws all those bad boys, all those tattoos that all of us have of the Joker cards' faces. Those are all drawn by Shaggy too, though. I would speculate at this time he may be the most re-tattooed person in the world for a tattoo artist. He may have more of his designs tattooed on people than any other tattoo artist in the world. Because, I mean, think of how many juggalos there are, and think of how many juggalos worldwide have those Joker cards tatted on them. I have all 6 of them tatted on me. I know I'm not the only one. I know there's probably hundreds or even thousands that have all 6 of them at least. A bunch of ninjas have the Hatchet Man. A bunch of ninjas have a Joker card that's their favorite and things like that. But, yeah, the Joker's cards, the first 6 Joker's card of the first deck, you can't fuck with that. That's the best mythology ever written. And look how good it was. It took 2 rappers from Detroit who throw Fago at the audience, and whenever their first album debuted, sold 17 copies. By the time the mythology had wrapped up, they had sold like 3 to 4 million albums and had 1 million juggalos on the wagon ready to see and be taken into Shangri-La. So, I mean, you just can't fuck with that. You can't. There's nothing you can say to argue against how awesome that first Joker's card deck was. Those first 6, I mean, 95% of all the true friends I have and that I've made in my lifetime is because of those first 6 albums. And all the girls that I've liked more than for just their netting, it was because of those first 6 Joker cards that I met them. So, I mean, it's not just what it did for ICP, it's what it did for the Juggalos. I honestly tell people whenever they can't believe that I'm still as hardcore of a juggalo as I am after 20 years of being down with the clown, I say it's not even the music at this point. It's the people, it's the culture, it's all the times I've had. And like Violent J and Shaggy say, they just provide the soundtrack. All the magic is all the juggalos that come around. And all the juggalos, it doesn't even have to be a concert. It doesn't have to be a gathering. Juggalos can just gather at a park for a barbecue and it's off the hook. I mean, just things like that is magic. I'm glad people don't understand it. I'm glad more people didn't understand it, because the more people that jump on, the more fakes you get that don't understand it and just there to have a good time and there because they think it's something popping. I think the way that the Juggalo community has always stayed underground and smaller, I think that, like Violent J said, whenever it's cold outside, the heat inside is that much warmer, and that's exactly how I think the Juggalo community is, and it was all built on these first 6 Joker's cards who we've just talked about in length from the Malenko era on, and we also played the seminar from Insane Clown Posse's Gathering where they talked about a little bit from each era of the Joker's cards. But what we're going to do now is wrap up the Hell's Pit talk, as I got an intro from the Hell's Pit era tour. And there you hear the intro from Hell's Pit tour, which wrapped up the first 6 Joker's card of the first deck. And like I said with Shangri-La, the message with Hell's Pit, I was 100% all about as well. I thought it was a super fresh idea that the word Juggalo did not appear on the album at once, because they don't want to see one single Juggalo in Hell's Pit. They want to kick it with all the Juggalos in Shangri-La for eternity and keep the diamond ring flying. But what that's going to do, it's going to bring an end to the 6 Joker's cards original deck. It's also going to bring an end to this program for this week. Chapter 13 officially wrapped. The 6th Joker's card, the end, Hell's Pit, has been talked about and given its much due props. Next week, we'll return to Chapter 14, which will focus on the gathering of the Juggalos at Cave in Rock, Illinois. And it will also, since it's being dropped on Devil's Night, we'll pick up from our Hallowicked discussion where I ended it at Hallowicked 98. We'll pick up the Hallowicked discussion to bring that Hallowicked clown show flavor to you. Gorilla style.
You're checking out Wonka.
What up, Lows Inlets? This is Violent J broadcasting live from atop of the Hatchet Tower complex in bloody, peaceful, murderous Detroit for another edition of the Witching Hours.
Whoop whoop!
Fuck you. Now, this special edition of the Witching Hours is unlike any other edition because tonight we will be world premiering. That's right, world premiering shit off the mighty Tempest album. And if you're not hip to the fucking Tempest album, to ICP's reunion with underground producer extraordinaire Mike E. Clark.
You're an asshole.